Hi, TC Freeman here, and want to take a moment to dedicate this Pilot Safety Minute to Memorial Day and the veterans that have served. For me, Memorial Day means all veterans, ones that have died serving their country and ones that have served. On a personal note, I have a couple of relatives that have served. My father served in the Navy during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and my grandfather served in World War II, and he came up the beaches of Normandy there on D-Day. As a teenager, I was getting into studying history and World War II specifically, and I knew that was the time when some of the first German jets were coming on the scene. So I asked my grandfather had he had seen any of these jets while he was in service, and he said in fact he did. He was in a foxhole with a buddy serving on a bazooka team, and he said he heard this kind of strange noise, and so the strange noise he heard, he said he couldn't really see what it was, but he had heard tell of some of the jets that were out there that the Germans had, and he knew it was perhaps one of those. So it's kind of interesting to know somebody in your family, and I'm sure you have stories like that too, of folks that have served in the military. On behalf of Memorial Day, we want to tie this into our Safety Minute and really commend the folks with the bases who have been very proactive about interfacing with the general aviation community. Furthermore, they're really great about bringing mid-air collision avoidance programs to the GA community. And so I wanted to take a moment to remind folks, when you're flying around in areas where they have a military presence, be of course careful of the MOAs, but you also have restricted areas and alert areas. Now the thing about MOAs is that they can be hot with activity. So is it illegal to fly through those areas? No, it's not, but is it wise? And I would say no, that's not the case. So if you look at the legend on your aeronautical chart, you can really tell pretty easily, well, who's the controlling agency for one thing, and two, is there a way I could fly above or below the MOA to get through it without being a conflict of any sort? And that could be pretty easy to do with just a little bit of study. Another area that pilots miss a lot are VR and IR routes, and these are military training routes designated by a very thin gray line on the aeronautical chart, and if you're not really looking, you can really miss it. So for that reason, you really need to be on the lookout for these when you're flying around. Now, if the IR route has 3 numbers, that means your activity will be at 1,500 feet and above. If it has 4 numbers, it will be flying activity 1,500 feet and below. So you really need to be on the lookout for these, and quite frankly, there's some that go right past airports and VORs or waypoints that are highly traveled. With the VR and IR route information, you could be on the lookout for military training route operations. So the military tries to get out and interface with the GA community with mid-air collision avoidance programs, and we also want to do our best to study the charts and be aware of our surroundings as far as where we might encounter military traffic.